What if I told you that you could design and live the life that you want on your own terms? Would you do it? Would you take a leap into the unknown? Or would you settle for a life of limits, a life of safety but lacking true meaning? Zeph and Moses Blacksburg here, and I'm on a journey to help you ignite your inner passions, let go of your fears, and get more out of life. Will you join me and make this year your year of purpose? Welcome to the Year of Purpose podcast. Hey everyone, Zeph and Blacksburg here from the Year of Purpose podcast, and today I'm joined by Stephen Robinson. He is a lover of life, adventure seeker, and is all about the power of taking vision to reality. For the past 3 years, Stephen has begun his entrepreneurial journey through running a business that grossed over $500,000 in 2 years, starting multiple fundraisers, and now is moving into his latest venture, 52 Skills. With 52 Skills, Stephen hopes to inspire individuals of all ages to go out and push their comfort zones, learn new things, and grasp every opportunity they have to live an incredible life. What's going on, Stephen?
Oh man, it's nothing much, man. Just hanging out here in my room and early in the morning. This is the early morning sessions are kind of rare for me, but it's good. It's good.
Well, hey, thanks for taking just a little bit out of your morning to join us and hang out for a little bit. I want to jump into 52 Skills in just a couple minutes here, but real quick, if you just give people a little summary about kind of where you've been before that and what steps led up to creating 52 Skills. So, what were you doing for work and for fun?
Yeah, no, like well, work and fun. I don't know, but that's a big question. But as far as work goes, back in like my high school and junior high days, I used to work on a bee farm, and for a little bit in my university career, I was a beekeeper, which I think is kind of cool. But it was a ton of work, like 60, 70 hour weeks, and I was getting paid like $14 an hour, just the worst. And I was working for these other guys, and they were pretty cool, but I thought there would be something more. Um, and I ran into these group of entrepreneurs on campus, and I was like, these are my people. And it was pretty cool. So I ended up starting a contracting company. Very simple, nothing sexy about it. But through running the contracting company, I was able to pay for my university, and then now I'm using that money to fund a couple startups, and as well as 52 Skills. So that's kind of the long and the short of it. But yeah, that's kind of where I came from. So.
Nice. So, where did the motivation ultimately for 52 Skills come from? And if you could explain to everybody what it actually is.
Yeah, so first, 52 Skills is a kind of vlog where I learn a new skill every week of the year, and then make a video about it, and write out my learning, and try and give people the steps and the resources to go do that themselves. And the motivation for it, that's a really good question because sometimes I'm not really sure why I'm doing it, but um, a huge thing for me is every week I set weekly goals, and I try and hit them. So like I'll be like, okay, so this week I got to get this and this done, and I've been doing that for the past 3 years, um, and I thought, well, I should try and apply that to a blog, and so that's kind of how 52 Skills came about. That's where the weekly skill came out of. So it kind of holds me accountable to just doing really cool stuff every week.
Mhm.
But really, it was just like, okay, I wanna have an awesome year. I want to do something cool, and I want to try and inspire people. And then just from a series of events, 52 Skills was born.
That's awesome. So, what sort of stuff have you learned? I think you're almost halfway through, or just about halfway through.
Almost, which is this is crazy to me. Like it feels like sad almost. It's like almost halfway.
Well, the good news is there's so many different things out there to learn that it's like, you could keep it going after
Yeah.
the 52 weeks is done. What'd you start with? Like, what was your first one?
The first one was How to Burning Man.
Nice.
Yeah. So it wasn't really a skill per se, but it was really cool. It was a cool video, a good thing to kind of jump into and like catch people's interest. And it's basically just a video of me like running around and having fun.
That's
But,
awesome.
yeah, which is like half of my videos anyways, but
So why do you think that it's important to set goals, maybe weekly instead of throughout the year? Because a lot of us, we get up at the beginning of the year and we're like, oh, I'm going to set this New Year's resolution, right, of like losing this weight, and then it never really happens.
yeah, I think New Year's resolutions are like the biggest load of shit in the entire world. Like it's like okay, like once a year we're gonna set like a massive goal, okay? And it's just that's the dumbest thing in the world to me. I think if the reason it's super important to set goals every single week is because then you're breaking them down, right? You're taking something huge and turning it into smaller tasks, so then they're a lot more manageable like that, right? So if I was
Hmm.
to tell you, hey, I'm gonna make a blog, and it's like I'm gonna make all these videos, and they're gonna be probably in total probably like 1,000 or so minutes of a video, and it's gonna be me learning 52 skills. It would sound super intimidating, right?
Hmm.
When I'm like, okay, like this week I'm gonna learn how to play acoustic guitar or whatever, and then I break that down into even smaller chunks every single day, and then it's a lot more satisfying when you just kind of work towards it, right? Where it's like you can check things off the list as opposed to um, taking like 2 weeks to check something off the list. It's like every couple of hours you're like, okay, boom, I did this, boom, I got this done, and it's just I think it's just kind of basic human psychology to just work towards things like that. So that's why I think it's super important and why New Year's resolutions are just total bullshit.
And you said something important there, being satisfied, because obviously being a beekeeper was not something that was very satisfying for you, nor was when I was in my full time job in corporate retail, it just wasn't satisfying. How important is it to you to feel fulfilled, and how do you kind of define being fulfilled?
Yeah, well, I think that's an interesting question because I think it is very important, but I think a lot of people, at least in our generation, in our age, they go towards things and they're like, oh my God, no matter what, this has to fulfill me. Like I need this to fulfill me. Like if it doesn't fulfill me, then it's not, there's no purpose to it. But I think to an extent, like you gotta go through some really shitty experiences. You gotta like push yourself. You gotta do stuff that you don't like, and then
Hmm.
that's when you get to the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
So for me, running the contracting company, like I didn't enjoy the entire experience, but I gained some incredible skills. I learned how to grind, and there's like some nuggets of awesomeness that I experienced throughout that. So um, for me, yeah, I think like experiencing that pain and doing something that didn't fulfill me for a couple of years, but was like extremely learning based, was very powerful and kind of accelerated me towards where I want to be. Was a great moment, and then now 52 skills is fulfilling me in so many different ways that is pretty great. So I think being fulfilled in what you do long term is important, but like to if you want to like get into kind of the entrepreneurial world, I think a lot of people they'll just need to struggle, and it's just gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt probably for the first like year or so if you're really like pushing yourself.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so I think fulfillment is super important, but I think a lot of people can get stuck in that and be like, I need to fulfill myself when it's like, no, you just need to work really hard. You just need to like sacrifice, and then you'll get fulfillment, right?
Yeah, a lot of us kind of get up here, and when we reach that point of success, to everyone else, it looks like it was really easy, right? Like it almost seems like it was something that happened overnight, and it really isn't. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a lot of long nights just to get this podcast off the ground. I think I had like a month of just sleepless nights and working on it, and you got to be ready to take any challenge
Yeah.
that comes up for you. What sort of challenges did you have, whether it was with the beekeeping or with the contracting company? Like, what was your biggest challenge just in daily life or maybe even in the business?
Yeah. So I mean, beekeeping like the challenges were. just more physical. I mean, like we were just lifting fish for 10 hours every single day. So like that was okay, but like physical challenges you can get over pretty easily. Like
Mm-hmm.
for the contracting company, it was more just the stresses of um keeping people employed, customers yelling at you, keeping like your customers satisfied. Like at any moment you could have like two angry customers. Like if you have 10 projects on the go, two angry customers, your employees all of a sudden quitting, and then you're gonna run out of work next week. So then you're trying to like book more work, and just like the culmination of all of these stresses happening at the same time. It just kind of turns you into a person who has your threshold for feeling stressed in certain situations all of a sudden goes up here, right?
Yeah.
Which is a really good skill to have, because you can stay calm in situations that you used to get stressed out of. But yeah, I would say like some of the hardest times with that was just like a culmination of problems where like normally that problem on its own would have been difficult to deal with, but then when you have five of those problems happening at the same time, and you're like, ah! but then you solve it, and then now I get to look back and I'm like, yeah, that sucked, but I'm really glad I experienced it because now like through that experience I was able to become a much more well-rounded person. So
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us get to those points in time where we're just so done with everything. And it's really a matter of how you react to it.
yeah.
Did you ever have a point in time where maybe you kind of just sat down with yourself and you're just like, I don't know if I can do this? Like, do you ever question, like, sometimes it's got to get overwhelming to the point where you're just not sure if that's like what you should be doing or if you can continue doing it. Has that ever come up for you?
Oh yeah, I mean not with 52 skills yet because 52 skills is a very satisfying thing. Like there's a lot of support with it. It's a lot of fun. Like it would be nice. It'd be nice for more money to be coming through with 52 skills. That's the thing.
Sure.
It's like usually the beautiful thing is when you can find a balance between the two, right? Right, where it's like fulfillment and money, because lots of times it's one or the other. But with the contracting company, it was, oh man, it was like every day I would be like, what am I doing? It's like, ah. But then I would like look back and I would like review. I'd be like, okay, so I wanna live this kind of life. I want to come out of school without debt. I want to, um, yeah, and I wanna like gain these skills. Like I was just like sometimes I would just write notes and like letters to myself and be like, Steven, you can do it. You're awesome. Quit being so hard on yourself, right? And I just kind of like get up and just go drive and talk to the angry customer and stuff. So it's
So
good.
you got to use it though as like a means to fund the thing you really wanted to do, right? So it's like you get to suck it up for, a year or two,
Yep.
knowing that you can do something really amazing at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah. Yeah, and like don't get me wrong, like running that company was a lot of good points in it. Like there were a lot of highlights in it, but yeah, it's just I'm just kind of focusing on the painful stuff because just to kind of highlight the fact that yeah, like you need to go through some really hard stuff, but when you get out of it, like your skills as a person just skyrocket, right? Like if you want to if like I used to be really scared about talking to girls and now like approaching women is no problem for me because I had to approach so many people running this company, right?
Right.
Um, or even with 52 skills, like being able to ask people to teach me how to do a skill and just like the networking and kind of the sales aspect of it. I mean, sales with 52 skills is not that hard. It's like, hey, I want to make you look really cool, and they're like, okay, right? It's like the easiest sale ever, but um, yeah. So I don't know. It's really interesting because yeah, like when you ask about the fulfillment thing, that really hit on a head because it was like, yeah, fulfillment is important, but going through some really hard shit is just as important, if not more important than fulfillment, especially early on in life.
Right, right. We've got to go through the tough stuff to get to the really good things. There's some saying it's something like I live my life the way that most people won't, so that I can live my life for It's I live my life for a few years the way that most people won't, so that I can live my life the way that most people can't, or something like that.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I'm really excited to see like the rest of 52 skills. What tell me a little bit about the other things that you've learned like while you've been doing it and what sort of challenges have come up just with learning each skill.
Yeah, I mean, I found one that I hate editing, but like seriously, like that's the one thing where it's like, every week I gotta spend like 8 to 10 hours editing. I'm like, God, this is the worst. But and like people, they love sharing what they're good at. So I mean, if yeah, like people love sharing what they're good at. Three, learning new things is actually not that hard. Like typically depending on the skill, but like 90% of the time learning the skill, like the basics of the skill, it takes the least amount of time for me every single week in regards to the blog. Like most of it is like promoting, editing, like creating the thumbnails, writing up the posts, polishing everything. That's probably like 70% of my time, and then 30% of it goes towards like setting up and learning the skill, right?
Hmm.
So for people who don't have to make videos and stuff, like it's actually not that hard to go out and live a pretty incredible life, right? And I don't know if I'm getting that across well enough with the blog, but that's kind of the whole point.
So, through learning all of these skills, I'd imagine that a lot of transformation is happening, in the brain with your way of thinking and with your attitude. What have you seen as a change both in yourself and what do you know as far as what it does to your mind when you're learning new things?
Yeah, no, it's really cool. Like it's kind of really fundamental psychology that you get more excited when you're doing new things, right? So, for example, when you go to a new place, like you're traveling, you're a lot more excited than if you're just kind of staying in your own house, right? Because things are new, things are interesting. You have like new things to look at. So your brain is just like way more active and way more excited, right? So with that, like with me learning new skills every week and like constantly just learning new stuff, it's very hard for me not to be constantly stoked. Like I'm just always like super super stoked unless I'm editing.
Right. And then it's just like, I want to throw this thing against the wall.
um, but yeah, no, it's really really cool. I get to yeah, I get to learn new things every week, and then my brain is like, oh sweet, this is awesome, this is new stuff, and just like dopamine everywhere, and it's like a new high for me every week without using drugs. So yeah, I think for people who are kind of having like even like maybe a down day or like tough time, just going out and like learning something new can just kind of boost up your week and get you going again. Like it's pretty incredible what it can do.
So I'd imagine that it's pretty simple to learn something new, right? Like anyone can go to YouTube or to your blog and check out, 52 skills and learn something. What's
Yeah.
your process for learning some of these things? Because some of them you've probably had to get people to show you along the way, and haven't just been all online. So what do you do to learn all these different things?
Yeah, so I'd say that probably 70% of them I do find someone to teach me, and if you're learning a new skill, that's the best way to do it, right? Because online can only show you so much, especially like in person and all that sort of stuff. Like if you're doing something wrong or whatever, then yeah, then it's not gonna fly. Like for example, like me doing a barrel roll in a plane. Like, there's no way I'm going to learn how to do that on the internet and then go like fly a plane, right? So there's just certain things that you gotta work your network for.
Mm-hmm.
And if I say network and the person is like, well, I don't have a network, it's like bullshit. If you have Facebook, you have a network. Um, so yeah, so like just reaching out to people and being like, hey, like I hear that you play guitar. Could we spend a couple hours messing around on guitar and like learning a song, right? Like one of
Mm-hmm.
the skills coming up in a few weeks is how to convince people that you're good at an instrument.
Okay.
So basically, it's just about you just learn one song on that instrument really well, and you just play that for people, right? Like I did that in high school. I learned one song on piano really well, and a bunch of people thought I was good at piano, but I just knew how to play that song, that one song. So.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
so like first, like what I would do if you want to go learn a skill is just try and find other people who can teach you that skill. And what that's going to do is that's going to create like a social sort of bond. So it's like when you reach out to them, they're actually going to hopefully follow through, right? It makes you more likely to follow through when you're making those social bonds with people. Um, and then as well, it's going to be a lot easier for you to learn it, right? So even for example, I built a synthesizer a couple of weeks ago. That was one of the skills, um, and probably spent like 8 hours trying to figure it out on my own, and I just couldn't do it. So I reached out to a couple electrical engineers I know, and like 2 hours later, it was working, right?
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so and you learn a lot too, right? Like you can learn a lot through struggling on your own, which I think is really really important. But also it's like super important just to like ask for help is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and then if you like if you're the kind of guy who likes to build things, instructables.com is just an incredible website. It's like so much fun. Like I could just build stuff on Instructables all day. That's where the electric scooter. That's my most popular video. Where it's like it was like how to build an electric scooter with a drill.
Nice.
Zip tie a drill basically to the back wheel, and then you tie a piece of string around the trigger and you pull the string, and then the friction between the drill head and the wheel spins the wheel.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so super cool website. So even that, like if you like building stuff, that's a really cool website to go on. But yeah, like really, like if you want to learn how to like, for example, ride a unicycle, it's like okay, so post on Facebook, hey, I want to learn how to ride a unicycle. Do you guys know anyone? And I guarantee that 90% of the time, someone is going to either be like, um, no, obviously, no, but I know someone, or yes, I can teach you, or no, but that's an awesome idea. You should go do it, right? Like you're
Hmm.
either going to get support, or someone is going to reach out to you, or someone that has a friend will probably reach out to you. And that's been my experience, anyways.
And it sounds like a lot of these things haven't really taken a ton of effort on your part, like more than a day. Because I'm sure a lot of people are like, well, how am I going to learn about, whatever? It's going to take me forever, right? Because
Yeah.
some people go to school for, like you said, electronics engineering for years, and it takes them that long to learn it. But I mean, 2 hours and you had a synthesizer going.
Yeah.
It also sounds a lot like we don't have to all be entrepreneurs to be doing this. I mean, you could be stuck in your job or wherever you are in life, take on a couple of new skills, and perhaps that'll lead you to finding your purpose or finding the next place to go to or the next leaping step.
Oh yeah, and like the cool thing with this is that I'm dipping my hands into so many different things that I mean like I would be very surprised like if I was the kind of guy who wanted to have a job whatever, but like I've discovered so many passions of mine this year that it's actually hard because I'm like, oh, I want to do this. Now I want to do this. It's like I want to do this, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so if there's someone who's like if you're struggling to find passion, like I would love to create 52 skills into like a program where people like go do like actually do 52 skills in a year, or maybe 12 in 3 months or something like that, right?
That would be
That
really
would be really
cool.
really cool.
Yeah, I like that
And
a lot. I would totally do that. I would love to learn
sorry,
something new. I would totally do that. I would love to learn something new every
yep,
week.
yeah.
Um,
So
yeah,
yes, and I think the cool thing is like it can unlock passions in people that they never realized that they had, right? So you could find a career through it, or you could just find like a really new cool hobby. And like to be totally honest, girls friggin' love it. So like, if anything else, and if a girl's doing it, then I'm sure guys would love it too, right? Like, yeah. So, um, yeah, it's like a no lose situation, really, except for editing.
Except for editing. So if you're
Wow.
looking to learn a new skill, maybe not video editing, but it's really cool that you might find a new passion because a lot of the times I talk about how we don't ask the right questions, and if we're sitting there trying to ask ourselves like what is our purpose? What are we supposed to do? That might not be the right thing. Like really we have to go out and try a new skill and ask ourselves, what do we like about this? What didn't we like about this? And what could we change for next time?
Yeah.
So I have to ask you, there's got to be some skill that you haven't learned yet that you really want to do. Like there's got to be some big crazy dream of yours. I'm curious to know what that is.
Yeah. Well, I have a friend. He went to Indonesia last year, and he had a pet monkey. So it's like I really, really, really want to have a pet monkey and like teach him how to do something. And the cool thing with it actually is that you go there and like you can buy the monkey and then you give it to a monkey sanctuary afterwards. So it's actually like really humane because like you're giving the monkey to a monkey sanctuary where it's like living a better life than it did for these
Nice.
other guys. Um, but yeah, like I just like how to like own a monkey. Like who doesn't wanna? That was like my dream as a kid, right? It's like
I think that when you're done your next 6 months of 52 skills, you need to go get a monkey and teach him 52 skills before you donate him to the sanctuary. And that should be your like full next year of your YouTube channel. It should just be like every week I'm going to teach my monkey a new skill.
just turns into like the most badass monkey in the world.
Yeah, why not?
It's like typing. I can teach him how to edit for me.
There you
Yeah,
go. You could get the video editing taken care of.
that makes sense.
So, needless to say, you've done a lot of really cool stuff. You have a lot of cool things in the works. Uh, we make a lot of decisions in life, right? Like you had to make a choice to start this 52 skills and to learn something new every week. And I'd imagine that, if you were in a funk like some people are who are listening or watching this, that's huge for you getting to that transformational point and taking that big risk.
Yeah.
What happens in your mind when you're looking at taking on a new challenge? Like, what are you thinking about? What are you afraid of? And how are you kind of moving past that and just like pulling the trigger on it?
Yeah. No, like I guess like to fundamentally break it down for me, if I look at like something that is going to be really really difficult, first I decide if it's going to be helpful to me, or is it going to be helpful to others, and like that's kind of like the first deciding factor is like okay, like is this actually going to be helpful, right? And if it is, then I'll be like okay, and I won't look at it as like this big massive challenge, but like as we were talking like before, it's like okay, how do we break it down into just like little manageable bite-sized chunks, right? Where you just go ham, 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 right? And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden that's like you've eaten a massive cookie when really these just little cookies, right? I don't know if that's a great analogy, but
No, it totally makes sense.
yeah, so yeah, and then just kind of breaking it down into little chunks, and just working from there. Honestly, like if you want to become a super productive person, and a guy who has like a million different things on his plate at each time, which I do, it's all about just like breaking things down, turning them into manageable goals, like things that are actually tangible, instead of being um, like for a goal, it's like okay, like I'm going to market my blog today. It's like yeah, if it's like market my blog, it's like what the hell does that even mean? Like what? Like okay, I posted on Reddit once. Okay, yeah, I marketed my blog. I can feel good about that, but that's not doing anything, right? If it's like post on Reddit 5 different times, post on StumbleUpon X amount of times, do like a social media run is what I call it, which is where I post on all of my social media things, and then it's manageable, and then like stuff actually happens. So yeah, like honestly, like the secret to life, I think, and like being a productive person, at least for me at this point in my life, and I'm very young, right? I'm 21 years old, so
Hmm.
I don't like to preach too much because I haven't had that much life experience.
Sure.
But what I think is has worked for me really well is just taking like yeah big things, breaking them down into small manageable goals, and just like just bulldozing through them, right? So yeah, and I think if a guy can do that, then they become 3 times more productive than they were yesterday.
Absolutely. A lot of this stuff we've been saying, I think a common theme is like it's really easier than you think. But I guess one thing that we haven't totally hit on yet was money, because that was always a
Yeah,
concern of mine when ideas and new things came up for me was like, how do we afford to do all these things, right? So,
yeah,
like, it's easy for someone who has some money saved up or who might have sold a company to say, like, oh, I'm going to just go to Costa Rica for a week, right? But, and like, it's true, but like we want to encourage people to work towards that, right? Like, don't just quit your job and just go buy a ticket somewhere unless that's like really what you want to do and you've thought about this for like a year. But
yeah,
there's a really great book called Vagabonding, and it's about traveling and kind of leaving the working world behind and just being like a lone traveler. But a big point they bring up in there is that most of the time you come back and work for 2 or 3 months, save up what you need for your next journey. So we're always working towards whatever that next journey is and saving up for that. So what do you have to tell everyone just about like money in general and being able to afford this and how it really is pretty easy?
yeah. No, I think yeah. So kind of 2 points. There's two sides to that coin. So the first one being if you want to like have money and live an awesome life, then okay, then like work your ass off, make that money, figure it out, and whether that's 2 years of hard work, whether that's 5 years of hard work or 10 years of hard work, if that's a lifestyle that you want to live, then I think it's just really important that you're constantly working towards that so that you can create that lifestyle, right? Instead of making like small sacrifices throughout the way, just being like just like turning on like the NOS button and just like going hard for like 4 or 5 years, building your business, like being really successful in your career, whatever it is, and then having that money to go out and live the life that you want. And the second side to it is a lot of this stuff actually doesn't require a lot of money to get it done, especially if you have friends
Mm-hmm.
who can teach you this sort of stuff. So yeah, I flew to Costa Rica. I mean, that was partially just like a vacation. That's another story, craziest story you'll ever hear. I can tell you later, but
Okay.
um, and and yeah, like I travel over to different places, but that's more just to keep it interesting for the viewers to like instead of just being in Edmonton, Alberta, right? Like going out to Detroit and climbing in skyscrapers and stuff. But
Yeah.
the crazy thing is like most of these skills you can learn them within like 100 kilometer radius of where you are, right? And if you have a car or if you have a friend who has a car, you just leverage that and you can make it happen. Like I always like to put in the approximate cost of each skill, and most of the times it's not more than $100,
Nice.
right? So yeah, so it's not like if you have $100 in your pocket, then you can learn most things, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd spend $5,000 a year to learn a new skill every single week. I think that's
Yeah.
like pretty reasonable.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And it depends on the scale of what you want to do, right? Like if you want to do like super crazy stuff, then maybe not. But and it depends on what resources you have on hand too, right? Like if you want to build something and you already have the materials to do that and the tools to do it, then it's going to cost you less, right?
Right.
But yeah, like I would say on average, like maybe $100. A lot of times it's zero, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Like
your urban exploration one, which by the way, I'm a huge fan of. There's a really great documentary, I think, on Vimeo about like New York underground train system, like urban exploration. But if no one's seen it, definitely check out Steven's video on YouTube about urban exploration because it costs
yeah.
nothing to do.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's actually my proudest video. Like I'm most proud of that video. It doesn't have like as many views, of course, but I mean it's always the ones that are like blah, 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 blah. They're just like crazy that get a lot of views on YouTube. But it's like, yeah, I'm super proud of that video. So thank you for like mentioning that one. That one's yeah,
Yeah, I
it's one.
mean, that's something you can do, I feel like, in any city, really. You just got to find somebody who kind of knows their way around, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I know. Like we're going to be doing it in Edmonton pretty soon here. Um, there's a couple of abandoned buildings in Edmonton, which I wouldn't even think there would be because everything is so new and gray and boring and stuff.
Well, you can come to Baltimore anytime and I'll show you around. Maybe we can, I don't even know how we go about finding somebody who could like help us do it, but I mean, there's tons of like board ups and abandoned places in Baltimore to check out. So I'm
Yeah.
sure somebody knows how to do it all.
Yeah, for sure. Facebook post, man. Starts with Facebook post. Also, really good way to find people to teach you skills is if you identify local groups on Facebook that are like part of it. One of the skills I'm super super excited for, it'll probably be in spring actually, just for video purposes. But there's a Viking club in Edmonton, and they're gonna teach
Nice.
me like all this Viking stuff. And yeah, I just like found it on Facebook is like a local Viking club. They are so hardcore, like so hardcore. Like they're like swords, and they speak in like old English and stuff on the Facebook page, and they all have like massive beards. It's just like holy crap, this is
That's
amazing.
awesome. Well, if
Yeah,
you're ever interested along the same lines as Vikings, I rowed with the Baltimore Rowing Club. So when it warms up down here, like April, May time, you're more than welcome to come down and learn how to row a boat.
yeah. I gotta work out first, eh?
Yeah, yeah. It's tough. It's really hard, but
Yeah,
it's a sweet skill, and that's just like how you learn stuff so quickly. I only learned it last year. I haven't been doing it for a very long time.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, real quick, what are some good resources just for people to check out? I know you mentioned one earlier for, was it Instructables or something like that?
Yeah, instructables.com. There's what are some other good ones?
Maybe any books that influenced you?
Yeah, there's Instructables, and then just like a really influential book for me that kind of started my entrepreneurial career was 4 Hour Work Week, which is like there's nothing like unique about it, but that one was like huge for me. Um, some resources. What are some good resources? I don't know, man. Like I don't really have like a lot of
Yeah, you
little.
just kind of do it, huh?
So yeah, just do it, and it's more just network, honestly. Like it's just going out and just asking people, right? People are my resources, I think,
hmm
is the right answer. So
So I think the big takeaways are, build that network, find people and ask them to teach you things.
yep,
Open yourself up to being willing to learn a new skill. I think that there's a lot of changes that go on in the brain. It could easily pull you out of whatever slump you're in. And I think number three is just realizing that a lot of this stuff is way easier than you'd think. So
totally,
there's no way to find out until you just do it.
totally, yeah. No, that's awesome, and I love when I talk with these kind of things, how just those sorts of things come up because like I never actually think about it or like form it in my brain when I'm talking out loud to someone. It's like, oh yeah, like that makes sense. That's why
Yeah,
I'm doing it, right?
yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool.
You've probably heard me talk about designing a life that you actually want to live. You might have even heard about my travels or experiences and thought to yourself, yeah, I do want to do that. Eventually, someday I'll probably do it, and my guess is that you've been thinking about doing it for a long time. So I want to tell you this: stop thinking. Your time is right now. You don't need any more time, you don't need any more info. You don't need to keep putting it off and planning for the perfect time, because the truth of the matter is this: you could be the person who sits around and thinks about living a better life, or you can be the person that decides that today is the day that you're going to actually do it, and I want that for you. Because you already have what it takes. You've got a fire inside. Even if you can't see it right now, it's lit, but you need to open yourself up to the possibilities and throw a couple logs into the flames. So join me and the Year of Purpose tribe by subscribing to our YouTube channel and iTunes podcast. And if you really like us, please leave a review. This is Zephan Moses Blacksburg, and I can't wait to see you again on the Year of Purpose podcast.